Welcome back to the 150K podcast. I'm your host, Joe Graham, where we help take your dreams to six figures and beyond. Today, I'm with me, my buddy, Randy Chaffee. Did I say it correctly? I
You
did the
got it.
A or it
You
did.
you got the A right. The only Chafee, and while there's like my sons and I, and that's it in the whole country that pronounce it that way. But yes, you got it perfect. Spot on.
Yeah, I love it. And the cool thing is, you said the big reason why is that your dad did it. And I think that's cool because it doesn't, reasons don't always have to be crazy big. They have to be, impactful for you. Now, so if people know who you are before we just start chatting, because we talk all the time, Randy is a super salesperson. He's done tons of trade shows, has his own podcast, public speaking, all this crazy stuff. So you're actually getting let into the mind of two sales guys that are going to jam for the next half hour, 45 minutes and all. But Randy, give us in your words who you are and what you do.
Well, sure. Well, you hit on it. I'm an old school road warrior from way back. I built my career. I have 4+ decades in my industry, which is metal roofing and post frame building components. And I built my career long version, very short, the old school way, pounding the highways, 80, 90, 100,000 miles, kissing babies and bro hugging and pizza pie lunches and coffee and donuts and all that. Literally one customer at a time, building relationships. I'm a B2B guy myself, even though, as we've taught before, Joe, even B2B is still P2P, right? It's still person to person. At the end of the day, there is a buyer, whatever their title is, and a sales guy or gal, whatever our title is, making a relationship, right? So I did that forever. And a few years ago, when the dreaded COVID world shut us all down, couldn't travel, and that's when I really transformed myself to a more hybrid way of doing things, which is I was 100% virtual for a while. Podcast, guesting, my own podcast. You've been on it with me, which was great. A lot of incredible guests, a lot more video text, video emails, posting 4, 5, 6 times a day. That's all I did. So I went from 100% old to 100% new. And there was two schools of thought, Joe, that I kept hearing. One was I'm just going to wait till we go back to the old way. Well, I already figured out that I don't think I need to go back 100% to the old way. And then there's these people that you'll never get on a plane and travel anywhere to see a customer ever again. It's all going to be virtual. I didn't buy that either. And so the last 3, 4 years, I've been really developing a more hybrid style of combining. Last week, I was out all week. Week before that, I was out most of the week. Now I'm going to be a couple of weeks working from the home office, which will be 100% virtual. So long story to all that is I'm a sales pro first. You mentioned I do write for some of the trade magazines. I do some talks at trade shows or customer events if they wish. Do some podcasting and just get up every day and love what I do and do what I love, man. It's good stuff.
No, I love that. I think the thing that I heard through that whole thread was I would call you a people person, meaning that you make connections. When you first started out and you didn't have the information age, you got in a car, you went and, like you said, you did the pizza parties, you met people
Mm-hmm.
in person, you developed the connection. So for our listeners, because there's a lot of B2B people that listen to it and even entrepreneurs, how do you do the connections? Because you don't just show up and throw pizza and people just, well, I mean, you might get the football team, but you're not going to get your client. How do you attract your client?
Well, in the past, and that's a two answers to that. In the past, the old Randy would be literally searching the internet, asking people in the industry. Literally, a lot of my customers, Joe, in the past, I would say, I'm going to cover this new area. I remember Maine, for example. I didn't have Maine years ago in New England. I didn't know anybody, really. I mean, some of the big players because you just know them if you're in the industry. So I asked a good customer of mine. I said, I'm going to travel into Maine in a couple of weeks, and do you know anybody? He says, yes, I do. He starts writing down some names and addresses, phone numbers, and then he goes, hold on, and he's dialing the phone. I'm going, I just had to call somebody quick. Kind of odd in the middle of a conversation, right? And he goes, hey, Bill, I'm with, hey, doing? He did the obligatory, how you doing? He says, hey, I got a guy here that I've worked with for years. His name's Randy. He's a pro in the industry, and he's looking for some customers in Maine, and I want you to talk to him. And when he comes up there, I would love you to see him. And he hands me the phone. So it's a good thing as a sales guy that we're quick on our feet, right? Because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
not prepared for this conversation, right? But so that's the way I did it in the past. But no, I would never. I believe in one thing, Joe. You need to earn every step of your of the mission along to getting some sales, right? You need to earn every step. You can't just come in and expect or demand because I have this great product that I think you ought to have. I have to earn that right. And so just showing up out of the blue, and again, I'm not saying I never would make a cold call if I'm in the area, but if I did, I would always be very clear. You kind of identify the office. And if you knew that sort of probably might be the owner or the manager, it just looked right, I would make sure that the gatekeeper, whoever they may be, I made sure I said it loud enough that, hey, my name is Randy. I'm with blah, 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 right? And I was in the area. I have no appointment. And I really understand that if nobody has time to see me, I will not ask for that. I would just like to at minimum pick up a card. This is what I do. And half the time they'd come out and say, hey, yeah, I got a minute for you, right? Because I feel like I've seen too many sales guys that'll go in and go, well, I want to, who's the owner? Who's the manager? I want to see them. Well, you haven't earned that right yet, dude. Right? You just haven't. And in my opinion, you've got off on the wrong foot right out of the door. Now, if I would call if I knew or had a phone number or had a recommendation, like some of the best, right? Or say, hey, Bill, this is Randy, Sourcewell Marketing. I represent blah, 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 whatever companies. And good friend of mine and a customer, Joe Graham, gave me your name and said, you might be somebody where maybe we could help each other. I'm going to be in the area and probably tomorrow, late afternoon, 3-4 o'clock. Would you have time to see me? I promise I'll take 10 minutes, but I'm going to allot an hour. If you only want 10 and you need me out, I'll leave. If you want some time, I'm going to give it to you. And so that's the way I used to do the old school. Now, bumping ahead is so much easier, folks, with the new world that we have.
Mm-hmm.
If you're making a cold call, and I have a good friend of mine that's very good in the cold call world, and she does teaching and training and very good with it. But in my vision of this, if you're doing cold calls the old way, I think you need to do a little work on what you're doing, because I shouldn't call up and say, Joe, do you guys do anything to metal roofing at all? Holy crap, folks. If I don't know that before I call you, you ought to tell me to go away, because I have not done my homework at all, because it takes about 13 seconds on LinkedIn and Google or anywhere else, YouTube, whatever. I can figure out what you do, who the principals are. And so then what I try to do is connect with those people well prior to a sales call via LinkedIn, maybe Facebook, maybe Instagram, whatever the case, wherever I can find them. And so I'll soft pedal this from the start with, I let them see me for a little bit. Unless I'm going to be in that area next week and I need to speed that up a little bit, I let them get an idea who I am. And many a times, for folks that don't use or understand the force multiplying effect of social media, man, when you call a guy and he goes, oh yeah, I know who you are. I follow you on LinkedIn, or I see some of your videos, or I've caught some of your podcasts. Yeah, when are you going to be in the area? That went way beyond a cold call into warm at minimum, and maybe approaching hot, because they kind of understand who you are, and they say, you know what, I don't know about the products yet, maybe, or what services he might bring me, but I kind of like the dude, right? I think I want to at least have him come in. So that's but the key of all that, Joe, going back to your original question, is opinion of mine, doing this forever, not saying I'm right, but I think I am. Earn it first. You just got to earn that every step of the way. And
I loved how you did it, because with each part. So we're gonna go back to the old school way first, right? When you went in, and I've done this because I've done a lot of phone sales, but I would do the same way. I would ask them to help me, or I'd be like, "Hey, I'm not trying to sneak around you. I know you're a person. I want your help." You connected with what we call a gatekeeper, and when you ask for help, people's instinct is to say yes. Or the business person you were listening to said, oh, this guy's not trying to screw my girl who I hire, who I like, or my guy, whoever. So he came out and he would talk to you because you made that connection.
Right.
With the social age now, it's crazy. I do LinkedIn reach out all the time. You and I follow each other on social media. People know who I am normally before I reach out to them, even in the B2B world now, because I've sent them a message on LinkedIn. And it's not, hey, will you buy my shit? It was, hey, let's connect. Or, hey, I thought this was cool. Or like, I'll see an article they did and I'm like, oh, and I'll comment on their article, or like, go, that's cool. Like, I recently reached out to a guy and he had won this big award. And all I did was go, that's cool. I think that's great. Another CEO I saw had got put into a magazine of his thing, right? I sent him a LinkedIn message and said, "Hey, great job on getting into XYZ magazine," right? Then I sent
Mhm.
him an email. And my first email to him wasn't, "Hey, T-Mobile," or "Hey, what I'm trying to sell." "Hey, I'm your guy. I'm in the area, but I just wanted to say congratulations on this. By the way, I'm with T-Mobile. If you need something, let me know." That was it. He responded, "Why? Because you're human. You're not
Right.
asking, you're earning the right, you're building the relationship." So I love that. I love that you're able to pivot old school and new school, because there's so many times people get caught in their one way, it's a highway, and it's like, you have to be adaptable.
Boom. And you'd almost think that you looked and saw my post that I just did a few minutes before we got on. And maybe you did because we follow each other. But I just did one this morning. I did it when I was walking about discipline versus adapting. And I believe in being a disciplined adapter, right? And you just hit on it. In my phone every day, in the morning, I have two things that are always there: adapt and be disciplined. And to remind myself to be disciplined with my workout structure that I like to do, the calls I need to make, the promises I made to myself or others. But I also remind myself by adapt. It's all it is, one word: adapt. Because he who adapts will win more than they will lose. And so this morning, good example. And I was telling you about it before we started the show today. I got up with the intention of doing this 30-30-30 thing, which is a whole different story for another day. And I usually go early, but my phone's buzzing, text, emails, messenger. So I
Yep.
start taking them because it's early. I'm going to be there for my people, right? One thing leads to another, to another, to another, and they're all opportunities. And this is key, right? Most of them were true positive opportunities. Some of the best opportunities are the problems that you get to resolve for your customer friends, because everything's great when everything's great. The good rise to the great levels when we get to solve that problem for them. So I look at those as like multiple opportunity on steroids, right? Do I love it? Of course not. I don't love when this guy tells me, "You guys screwed up." Like, I mean, what the hell? I mean, you shipped the wrong
Right.
crap, dude.
Yeah.
Do I love that? No. But I also realize here's an opportunity to be empathetic. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Are we idiots? My bad. Our bad. Sorry. Give me a few minutes. Give me the details. But anyway, so I got way past my time that I was normally go do my exercise program. So yeah, I had two choices. One was just to move on to the day and say, "Screw it, I got busy. Oh well." But that's where the discipline kicks in. I said, "No,
Mhm.
you go now then," because done is better than perfect in most things.
Yep.
Because perfect is a line in the sand that's constantly being blown over each night, or the waves are racing it, and you're starting over. So done is better than perfect, because perfect doesn't exist. And some in a workout, for example, or I'm going to make so many cold calls, warm calls, whatever a day, whatever that number is, some is still better than none. Okay, so if if I can't get in an hour walk, but I can get in 37 minutes, that's better than
Mhm.
zero, right? And it's the same thing. If I was going to make 15 warm calls today, and I got distracted, I got into other things, I'm taking care of what we just talked about, and it's only seven. Well, seven's better than zero, right? And so that's two of the four things that I have on my phone every day. I also have plan in the evening, because I believe in planning the day before and the week before and the month before and the quarter before, right? And then the other thing I have is at 3 o'clock every day, and these are four things that never leave my phone, is inspire. And it's just the word inspire, because I inspired anybody today? But even equally or more importantly, as I use the old airplane thing, the stewardess, we've heard a million, or the stewardess, I should say, flight attendants, to be politically correct. But you know, we can all say those things, is fly as much as a lot of us do. You always put your own mask on first, right? There's a
Yep.
reason for that. We all understand the reason for that. And you have to be reminded, because if I was traveling with my grandkid, I'm going to tell you, my first instinct would be to get them their mask on, right? But
Mhm.
if I'm passed out, I can't help them get off the plane. I can't help them do anything. I can't help the old lady 3 aisles over, right? We all understand that. Well, it's the same thing with inspiration, I think. Uh, if I don't inspire myself first by listening to something that Joe puts out, something that any multitude of people that I listen to, how am I going to inspire anybody else if I'm not feeling that way? So that's my four things that are on my phone every single day. And I'm not saying they'll never leave, but they'll only leave if there's something else that seems right to me at the time. Because again, adaptable, right?
But I love what you said there because a lot of times people are like, oh, I didn't do the workout. I can't do all the workouts. I'm not going to do it. And the key is consistency over time. So I have a rule. I have to produce content before I consume content. So I've not listened to your post, but I will. But I did a post pretty similar on being consistent and
Mhm.
showing up every day. And I think that I want your thoughts on this because I say it a lot, but I think you agree with it. Success is boring. It's doing the right processes over and over with the known results. Being disciplined in what you're doing. That's one of the key things you do there. Even if you don't hit the mark, doing something is always better than not. I love that. And inspiring people, that's like to give back. Have you always had a structured day, or is this something that you just learned over time?
You know, I I think if you're going to be successful in the world of sales, you have to have some ability to structure yourself. You really can't just get up every day, and I'm using a word my dad used to use, willy nilly with the day, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of
Yeah.
whatever. You just can't. You adapt. That's different than just what am I gonna? You can't wake up and go, okay, it's 7:30. I suppose I should do something today in the world of sales. I wonder what maybe should I call somebody? I wonder what I ought to do. Well, dude, you're already lost, man. That's a day gone because you're never gonna get back on target at that point. So I think I've got I've become much more structured as I've got older. And part of that is I, with part of it is just, I want to be home as much as I can because I love traveling. I love being with my customers. But if I want to be able to do that, I need to accomplish everything I need to accomplish when I'm on a road trip. So I am pretty darn prepared. I mean, I never travel again, might adapt maybe, but I never travel without every rental car, every flight. Obviously, you're not going to get there. Every hotel. If I'm going to take some customers out, many of the times, if it's a little spot that you might need a reservation, I got the reservations, right? I like to have those things prepared ahead. Always can change, right? Always can. One of the benefits being a Hilton Diamond, right, is I can always call that day and say, hey, I know I'm a little late, but I'm going to stay at another one tonight, I promise. But I I need to be 3 cities over, right? I'll always adapt, but I find that your word consistency and discipline are hand in hand, right? They're soulmates walking down the dirt road together. Um, I think you have to build some of those consistencies in because if you have to get up every day and try to figure out what it is I'm going to do, uh, you're probably not going to be as successful as you can. And I have a rule in my phone. I use my phone all the time, as we all do. And that's what I use for my calendar. I mean, once it goes in, I have a theory in my mind is touch and swipe. It's
Mhm.
going somewhere. Now, because you have the negotiables and the non-negotiables, right? There's this was a non-negotiable, barring an emergency on either one of our ends, right? But
Mhm.
a Teams meeting with one of my manufacturers is kind of a non-negotiable. A specific call or a Teams call or a Zoom call with a customer to do some training or to chat about a new product or opportunity. That's kind of a non-negotiable, right? So those are not movable. But I have my day filled with negotiables, which is follow up with Joe Graham on a sample that I sent last week to make sure what his thoughts were. I know he was going to show some people. I don't have a specific time to call you. It could be today at 2, it could be tomorrow at
Mhm.
4. It doesn't matter. Um, so I put that in at a time slot that makes sense. But I can move that, talking adaptable again, right? If something pops up just before I was going to call you that at that point in time takes precedent, oh, I'll move it all day long. But it gets moved. And even it gets moved to the point that if you're not interested right now, you're not ready, the timing's not right, we don't have the right program, whatever the reasons are, and there's reasons we shouldn't do business. I get that. I just move that out. What do you think? If I get back to you, no pressure, but in 6 months, would that be okay? 3 months, what would work?
Mhm.
Call me in 4 or 5 months. That gets moved. That keeps moving probably forever. Even if you quit the business, well, guess what? Who's Joe? Who Joe sell it to, right? I mean, we start the whole process over, right? Hey, Joe, I know you're out of the business, and I know you never bought from me, and that's okay. You bought some from great people. My competitors need, they're fine. but maybe I'd have an opportunity with the new guy. Would you mind giving me his information? Maybe put a good word in for me. So those things almost never leave my phone. They may get pushed way out.
Mhm.
If you tell me I don't ever want to talk to you ever in my life because I hate your hair, that might get pushed out until I find out on LinkedIn that you finally sold the business, right? Because
Yeah,
at some
yeah.
point I'm going to continue to irritate you if I call you, right? So, but anyways, yeah, I love the consistency part though, Joe. That's so key to what we do.
And you know what else I love here, Randy? Because I'm just listening to it, and you just do it so effortlessly. I think it was Ziegler, but it's the key thing. When you say someone's name in a conversation, it draws them back in because people like hearing their name. And
Mhm.
I know you're just doing it naturally. It's just how you talk. But I do a lot of podcasts. A lot of times on podcasts, we might mention your name once or twice. But that's another thing for all you salespeople listening. When you're talking to your customer, if you say, "Hey, Randy," and mention
Oh,
their name, that's going to give you that connection. And then I want to go back to. I just want to point out because I got here over the top of what you're talking about. I love the I call it fanatical prospecting or the ability to keep following up and not taking a first no because a no now is not a no forever. And a lot of times sales professionals give up because what they said no. No, it 9 times out of 10, this is my thoughts. I want to hear yours. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with maybe your product, your service, their timing, their dog died. Friday. So ask the next question. Cool, Randy. I got that. I understand that right now is not the right time. Is this something that you want to talk about in the future? Because you mentioned that in your thread too. And I think that's such a key that art has been lost in new salespeople because they turn and burn and try and find new people and turn and burn. What has is that just something that how did you learn that aspect? Where did you get this knowledge from, or did you just automatically know that?
I think a lot of it goes back to just doing this for so many years, even a dumb old farm boy like myself. You learn stuff after time by osmosis, right? And I did learn a lot from my dad growing up on the farm. Matter of fact, that's been close to me just recently because I'm trying hard to finish my book, and I talk a lot about what I learned on the farm from my dad because he sold seed corn and he sold buildings, he sold building materials. Thus, how I got started in this crazy world. Um, but I saw him build those relationships, and he built those relationships with, like, for example, he used to sell Pioneer brand seed corn. Well, there's a lot of competitors that have good products. Arguably, you could prove the reasons why his product, as I learned at an early age, as I listened to him, had there's a lot of reasons why it was better, maybe. But not everybody wants to hear that right now because they're just not in the place. I like my dealer I'm buying my whatever from, brand X, right? I He's my cousin's nephew. They're all the reasons,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But he would consistently send them a card at Christmas. He would consistently stop by around harvest time, and if he saw him out in the field on a combine and he knew it wasn't his seeds, just, hey Joe, how's the harvest? Everything coming out good? Hope it's well. Man, weather's been great for harvest. Just a conversation to stay in front of them without any kind of sales effort because you know and I know that you agree with this one. Somebody asked me a question once. When did you start selling a lot? And it's when I really figured out, and this goes back to Ziegler and a few others too, is when I stopped selling. You know,
Yep.
I don't sell people. And I go, this is an old adage that a million people use, and it gets talked about a million times, but I think it needs to be talked about another million times. Is again, you can use all the words you want, be the trusted advisor. We can come up with all the key phrases that everybody tosses around. Because if you're gonna do talks about sales at some point in your 45 minutes to an hour talk, you probably are gonna throw out trusted advisor because that's a key word that everybody gets, but it makes
Mhm.
sense. But if you don't work towards being that person that they trust and they like and they want to do business with, you're never going to get and earn that ability to ask for another opportunity. And so I like to stay in front of people. And I'm blessed. Everybody, if you're a company salesman for a specific company, you got maybe a narrower brand of, or assortment of products. There's still something. In my case, as a manufacturer's rep, I rep multiple manufacturers, so I've got a lot of breadth to what I do. My first thing, if I'm doing nothing with Joe Graham, roll forming metal guru that you are, right? If I'm doing nothing with you, my first goal, my goal to sell you everything has got to be way down the road right now.
Yep. 100%.
Right now, all I need to do is build a relationship with you, that I've earned the opportunity to stop in again with some donuts next time I'm in town 4 months from now, right? Bring you some coffee. Hey, just wanted to stop in, no pressure. How's biz? Because as you talk more, as I send you something, as you follow me on social media and you see I'm talking about brand X or this product, the first thing I need to get, and you know this from doing phone sales a lot, I just, one of the first things we need the appointment, right? Quit trying to sell a product. I just need an appointment with you. Well, in my world, after that, I need to assist you with something. I need to be a known commodity to you, not a commodity, but known product to you. I need to send you something that helps you out of trouble, helps you make some money, whatever that might be, small, medium, large, and then we'll build from there, right? And I think too many sales guys and sales management people, it's like we got to push for everything. We want the full share of wallet. Well, yeah, someday. But if you go for the full share of wallet today, you're going to get one of those little coin bag things that people used to carry around. You kind of open up, empty with zero. That's what you're going to get, because it's like, go away, Randy. I've told you I'm happy with what I'm doing right now. Okay, great people. And that's, you didn't ask this, but I think it's a topic that I think most people understand. But man, do I never, ever, one more ever, knock or badmouth a competitor or their product.
100%.
Now, it's fair to point out the differences. Here's mine and here's theirs. Test A, test B. Here's where we test. Here's where we test. They happen to do this. Works great. But we do this, and here's why I think this might be a benefit to you, right, Joe? But never, and I see that happen sometimes, and it's worked in my favor when I've had people I've had 30-some year relationship with. They say, oh, your friends have been in. I got a lot of friends. Who's that? Oh, you're one of my competitors, right? So good. I'd be embarrassed if they weren't out doing their job, right? And now I usually they'll say, well, you don't seem overly worried about it. I said, do I need to be? Man, no, not really. We're not going to go anywhere. So as a matter of fact, we don't really like them that well. Their product's fine, but all they wanted to do is tell us how you guys are screwing this up and how you guys are awful at this and how you guys this. He said, never in that conversation did they talk about, here's how maybe we could help you better than Randy does.
Yep.
And it turned them off, right? Because number one, they didn't recognize an important feature. Two things. They didn't get to know the customer fast enough or long enough to understand that these guys are fans of mine. They like me. We're kind of buds. So insulting me, they didn't like, right? And secondarily, when you say, oh, you're using brand X, man, those guys they're terrible product and all these things. What I'm really saying, aren't I, Joe, is, boy, you a dummy for using that product, right? I'm going to compliment you. Great people. And if you know what, Joe, if you never leave them, you'll do just fine. It'll be fine. But as we move forward, I would just like an opportunity to maybe send you a couple samples, no pressure. Let's see if you want to trial something. If not, that's fine too, right? I just find that, as we talked about, really circling back, the less hardcore selling I do, and the more just trying to be that guy for them that's a pro, that knows what he's doing, bringing them options, bringing them opportunities, just looking for that first little sliver, right? And then we'll build on that, because compounding works wonderfully well, regardless of what we use compounding for, right?
Well, I think you hit on a lot of key things there, because a lot of times managers will push sell everything, and that doesn't work because you have to earn the right. But you talked about earning the right way before you even tried to sell anything. And then the other part I really love was, you don't complain or talk bad about the competitor. Like, one of my sayings is this: you know what? Every company's good. If they start to complain, I'm like, I have a rule. I never talk bad about my competitors. I just want to show you how I may be able to help you. They do that well. Can I help you? This might help you out a little bit better, because you said something else there too. If you call a customer a dummy because they picked someone, you're losing right from the get-go, because customers care about themselves. They care about their products, their service, and what it helps you. They don't care about the brand. They don't care about the service until they know it will help them. So, like, if people, that's the other thing I want to ask you on. When I go in and I talk to a customer, I'm always talking to them about, hey, Randy, What is it that you need? What are you looking to do? Where's your company going? I'm finding out about them. I'm not coming in and going, hey, I have the best cell phone deal ever. Or hey, I can get you this voice over IP deal. Or hey, I can get you this roof. They don't care. They want to know I can either save them money, enhance what they're doing, or give them a benefit. Is that kind of how you, it sounds like that's how you
Abs-
sell too.
Absolutely. That is so key, Joe. They don't care what I have today. Zero care. And the more I push my product, sales guys get diarrhea of the mouth. They just want to expound on their brilliant knowledge and how much I know about my product and features and bennies and blah, 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 blah. They don't care about that. What
Nope.
they care about is their situations, their issues. And I, like you said, and I love that. What's going on? That's a problem for you. What issues are you having? Whether it's with your current supplier or not, but if there's a perfect world, and I may not be it, I may not have it, but what would Joe like to see, right? Because as I learn from that, and another thing I like to do, and I do it so I don't forget, but there's a psychological benefit of get your notepad out and take notes. Because I do it now. I do a lot of times on my phone. I'll say, look, I'm not texting your social media right now, Joe. I'm just taking some notes here, so I don't have to rewrite it later. But that's interesting. I'm gonna make a note of that. If you don't mind, I'm gonna send you over a sample. Take a look. If you don't like it, toss it in the trash. I get it. Um, but what it does is psychologically tells you that I'm listening,
Mhm.
that I care, and the likelihood is probably you're going to get whatever it was we talked about in the mail, UPS, email, text, whatever, depending on the situation. So I think it's obviously important so we just don't forget the details of what we're supposed to do. If we're making eight calls today, I'm not going to remember every little thing you and I may have talked about. But
Mhm.
I think it's equally important, as I said philosophically, that man, this dude's like cares. And he re-asked me something. And he says, let's circle back to what you said. I want to make sure I got this right. You like to buy it an inch and a half. That's your number one size. Yes. I may ask that question to be brutally honest, and I already know the answer. But I want to make sure that you understand when we get done that I left really asking you because you're so right when you hit on it. They don't care about if we've never done business before, they could care less about any of my features and benefits and all this great knowledge that I got packed in my goofy little head, right? Don't matter today at
I
all.
love
Zero.
what you said there. I love that you recap it for them. So you're like, "Hey, Randy, this is what I heard you say." I've done this a bunch of times, and their eyes light up. And can I tell them then, like, a lot of times I do virtual meetings, though I can do in person with the new role,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like typing one, like I'm typing notes, and at the end I go, "Hey, you said this, this, and this was your main issues or things you wanted to accomplish. Did I get that right?" And
Oh,
then they'll be like,
yeah.
"Yeah," and you know what that does? It reinstitutes what you said. Not only you're taking notes, but then now you're like, "Oh, now he's even asking me again to make sure he's not selling me. He's just making sure he's taking care of me." And I think that's a good key thing. But I want to find out more about this book. So you're writing a book. When is your book coming out?
I'm hoping. I'm hoping sometime in the third quarter. That's my hope. I've got to get some more time. It's getting to where I can finish it up. That's part of my this 30-day reset that I set up for myself, which includes a lot of exercise, really, really good diet plan. Not diet as being on a diet, but just something I do anyways with just
Food
healthy eating.
protocol. I got you. Yep. Yep.
But is to read something motivational, inspirational, at least 20 minutes a day, and to write at least 30 minutes a day. Because it's not a novel. It's not fiction. So I don't have to try to follow some made up thing and go back to, well, what did I originally say this character would do? Right. It's just
Hmm.
my life in sales and how I went from old school to a lot of what we talked about. How did I go from old school? How did I start? How I went into new school and how I found the hybrid version. And it's really, unless my editor and I change towards the end, which is possible, but I think we're going to probably be, I don't know what the subtitle will be yet, but my journey to hybrid. It's really going to take you from my early years of learning sales from my dad on a farm, learning relationships, all the way through to what I do today and what a lot of what
Hmm.
we talked about today. So,
No, I
um,
love that. I love
and
that.
I and I appreciate you asking because I didn't tell you about this previous because one thing is now when I have the book out, I may be calling a whole lot of my friends that we've
Yeah.
shared back and forth and say, hey, now I would love if I could do a promo on my book and come on, right? But
Yep.
I didn't say this intentionally, so thank you for bringing it up. I'm a sales pro, so I did weasel that into the conversation because I'm not dumb. But
No, it's
you
good.
know,
It's good. It was
yeah.
authentic in the flow, and it's your story. And podcasts are your story. Like I talked about beforehand, they're getting to listen to two sales guys
Mhm.
jam on something that we've been doing. I've been doing it for 20 years. You've been doing it, I think, a little bit longer than 20.
A little bit.
And just learning the process and what works. But where can people find you? Because now I know people are like, where can I find Randy?
Well, you can find me at ibuyfromrandy.com. I started that one years ago because my first thought was, why wouldn't you? Right? I mean, come on. And
Like
then
it.
secondarily, Building Wins Live, which is where my current podcast is, which that's the name of the podcast. You can find me LinkedIn under my name. You know, I go from some different tags, different places, but if you look Randy Chaffee, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Thread, which doesn't do much, but anywhere on social media. Um, I, I do a lot of, and I do a lot of, LinkedIn's really my go-to because I'm a B2B guy. It's funny. Real short, because I know we're kind of running towards time here, but I use a lot more TikTok now than I used to.
Yep. Yep.
And I do it for two reasons, Joe. One, it's just fun.
Mhm.
It's just, I can put some stuff there that I wouldn't put on LinkedIn necessarily, but I still maintain, and there's a reason for this. I still maintain a Randy, the professional sales guy, the professional in the industry, kind of knows what he's doing. Image, that's what I want to develop. But there you can find maybe a little bit more of a quirky side, a little bit more of I'm a normal, everyday kind of a goofball sometimes. That the reason I use TikTok is I also believe we didn't touch on this, and I think it's important in the world of social media and the force multiplier that it can be. LinkedIn is great for the current people in our age group. They're already in management ownership positions.
Mhm. Yep.
But what about that 24-year-old guy or gal that's going to be that buyer of my product, your product, 2 or 3 years from now?
Mhm.
I don't want to wait till then and hope they might find me on LinkedIn someday. I want them to know me today
Yep.
so that when they become that buyer of my product, whatever their title is, they're going, oh, dude, man, I've known this Randy guy. They've never met me, but I know who this Randy guy is. And he sounds like he really has been around forever. He could probably help me. And besides that, he's put out some kind of interesting stuff. He's kind of goofy and funny at times, whatever the case may be. So I do it because I believe you have to go where your potential clients live, not the other way around. Right. So I can't expect they're going to come find me. I need to go find them and be where they live. And so many of those live in TikTok, Facebook Reels. I find so, but any of those you can follow me in any of those. And if anybody wants to connect, I'm happy to connect with anybody that's not some of the weird Asian folks that or other country folks that are obviously selling something that I'm not interested in buying. But you get all that weird stuff sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
yes,
get a lot of spam bots. I hear you. I
yeah,
hear
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. I get it. I'm pretty handsome and all, but come on, I don't think you're probably that interested. So
Yeah. I'll just say it. I'm 47 now. I just had my birthday recently, right? If I have like some hot girl reach out to me, I already know they're trying to sell me something. Look, I've been married 23 years. If you look at all my socials, you see my wife, you see my
mhm.
family. It's not there. We know we all run into those crazy
Yeah, yeah,
things.
yeah. So they'll just go away. But no, that's so yeah, anywhere and I'm happy and love to connect with people in any way or form. And whether it's product related or not, doesn't matter. If it's just you want to connect to chat about, life and motivation, inspiration, just sales, I'm open anywhere, anytime.
I love it. So before I let you go, any other words of wisdom, any other thoughts you want to leave with our listeners?
The only thing I would say is one thing that I end a lot of stuff that I do with is live it, love it, own it, right? Because that's important. And love what you do and do what you love. And I end almost every show I do with that if it's my show, because I really believe it's important to love what you do and do what you love. If you don't figure out what's wrong and fix it so you can, or maybe it's time to find something that you do love, because life is short and life is long. And man, it's long, long, long life if you're not loving it every day, right? And so
Right.
that would be my biggest advice. Just and be into something, doing something that even with the hiccups and the hassles, and we're always going to have them. You're always going to have and maybe the last thing I'll say is don't. And this I've heard this many times, different ways, but you know, an issue comes up, 20 minutes of suck is just that, 20 minutes of suck. It's not a lifetime of suck. Don't let it become a month of suck, a week of suck, a month of suck, a year of suck, or a lifetime. Just it is what it is. Fix it. However it goes down, even if it just implodes and it goes away and it's bad, set it aside and move on to good stuff, right? You can't dwell on that. So that's,
No, I love it. Thank you, Randy, for being on. And all of you
of course,
listening, seriously, think about this. We just went about 45 minutes, 2 sales pros that have won multiple awards, done a bunch of stuff to help people take the knowledge that you've learned, apply it, and build a life you want to wake up to loving and living. Like Randy said, might be 20 minutes of suck here, but if that gets you to a place where you can live a life that most people would dream of, why not embrace it? Have a great day. Share this episode. And until next time, go be active.